This episode is brought to you by Adcentricity, leaders in location-based digital media management. Visit them at www.adcentricity.com. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's episode, Poynt files for bankruptcy protection. Amazon buys this great little company called UpNext. Nokia gets out of mobile payments when it seems like everybody and their mother is getting into them. Plus, news from Google and IBM. Our special guest, David Perez of Adcentricity, our new sponsor. And can retailers really get rid of the discount? Yep. Big show coming up right now. This is episode number 85 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untethered.tv. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, but joining me always, well, maybe not always from Toronto, but always on this show for 85 consecutive episodes, Mr. Asif Khan from...
2 weeks in a row, though, in Toronto.
Wow.
There we go.
2 weeks.
I know.
2 weeks in a row from Toronto is an all-time record.
There you go. Anyhow, Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. Always happy to do this with you, Rob.
Well, I love doing this show. It is a staple on our Sunday night. It means that I race through dinner, but it's well worth it. And today is July 8th. We are a week out from Canada Day, a week out from the holiday season, and I am just off of a river. What a great week it's been. And yeah, big news all around. Is there anything that you are doing? You were away last week, Asif. A little bit? Just a
short little jaunt into Dallas. Had some great meetings there with guys like 7-Eleven and a few others, and it's there's everybody's on top of this stuff. Location-based marketing is hot. Everybody's trying to figure it out. So there's no stop. Although I am going on vacation for a couple of weeks, starting this coming Saturday. So
come on,
I will be doing this from the road again. So there you go.
Nice. Well, I think last time we did it from a golf club or something like that. Was it in North Carolina that year?
It's same spot. We go to the same spot every year, so
nice.
It'll be there again.
Well, it's a good sign, Asif, when I know where you're going on vacation.
There you go.
Oh wow, this was a tough week, right, for a Canadian company in Poynt. This is our top story. Obviously, we definitely we know this company. Everybody knows this company very well. For those that don't, Asif will talk about. This is a Canadian company, Poynt, filing for bankruptcy protection. Business as usual, but filing for bankruptcy protection. Let's start off with what Poynt is, what they do. Asif, they're a Canadian company, man.
Canadian company based in Calgary. Originally, one of the very first location-based apps for the BlackBerry platform. Now works on all platforms. So this is about sort of location-based mobile search, find stuff around you, social discovery. One of the first platforms. So they've been at it for a while. They've got some good patents, but there's only so much you can do when you run out of money, and that's the scenario that they're in right now. So they. A couple weeks ago, I guess we're trying to close on a private placement deal. They've reduced the amount that they were looking for from $7 million down to $6 million. It looks like that private placement didn't come through. They had $1.5 million they owed to a company called Entertainment Media, which is based here in Toronto. They own a company called Ortsbo, which is a language translation platform that they had licensed, and so they weren't able to make that payment. David Lukacs, who's the founder of that company, was on the board of Poynt. He resigns as a result of this. I mean, it sounds like it's a mess. And I think the sad thing is that, this is a great Canadian company, doing lots of stuff to push the location boundaries in Canada. Originally based, as I said, on that RIM platform. Who knows how much of this is tied to, the problems that RIM's having themselves right now. So.
Yeah, you hitch your boat to something, but I mean they're across platform. They're across every platform. But,
yeah, for sure.
And these guys have 17 million users. They're bringing in 20 to 25,000 new users a day. Now these are big numbers, especially when you start to think about some of the other players in this space. Foursquare is only 22 million people at this point. So I wonder, obviously, deep pockets, there's always been a knock against Canadian companies is the fact that we're okay for a round day. When we need to compete in the global landscape, we don't have anybody to do any follow-on funding, and maybe this is an instance of that, or maybe maybe this is a cautionary tale that not everything is monetizable in the mobile space or the location space, right? Like it seemed like these guys were doing everything right. They had an agreement with Yellow Pages to be able to bring in their listings, 1.5 million listings in Canada. So this is one of those things that I think they've done everything right. So what happened?
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like they've got good deals in terms of bringing relevant content to the users from Yellow Pages, from Ortsbo, all this stuff. But that's cash out. They're paying for that stuff, right?
They're licensing
what's the revenue model on the other side? And I think you're right. I think that's the challenge. The other thing that, for me, as a follower point, and I love these guys. I think they're great people that they've got on this team. Good solid app platform, cross-platform, as you say. But it's one of those things where if I were to contrast Poynt to others like Foursquare, or even guys like Scavenger, right. And maybe that's a better example for the point I want to make is the one thing I saw with Poynt was, trying to expand all over the map, all over the globe, without, sort of coming, proving their revenue model here or in North America. So these guys were, they're in India, they're in, Europe, they're in Australia, they're all over the place. And, I don't know what the revenue model was there, but certainly, I never really saw a solid revenue model here. Technology platform is one of the best I've seen in terms of bringing lots of features and functionality together in one place from a location and mobile search and discovery perspective. One of the best I've seen. Yep. And as we alluded to, sort of those licensing deals. So this is sad. I hope they can reorganize. I hope they can come out of bankruptcy, better enabled to move forward and continue to grow that base. But find a revenue model.
Yeah, and maybe this will help them get out of those deals, those long-term deals that they may have signed in order to be able to do this. But I sat down with Andrew Osis, who's the CEO. This was July of last year, so 1 year ago, and they have 70 million monthly local searches a year ago, and it's just a staggering number. And maybe I agree with you. I was talking with a guy today, actually it was on the river, and we were talking about it today about a company that he is a part of that is launching on multiple platforms. They've gone in development for over a year. They've got, they're launching on every platform at one time. And I thought, this maybe you're right. Maybe this is it. It's too big all at once. My goal in everything is always is build incrementally, make money off of that almost as quickly as you possibly can. So,
I'm not saying there's no revenue, right? I mean, these guys, did have revenue coming in. I'm just saying, I'm like you. I'm much more, let's get this thing nailed in one market. Yep. Let's have it be solid, and let's start to replicate that. Yep. And my one thing that as an outsider is I just saw these guys going into so many markets so fast.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do, and it's expensive in a lot of cases, right?
Well, my our hopes are with these guys that they. I mean, as Andrew said in the statement, basically it is everything is still going ahead. They are honoring the relationships. Obviously, this is just a cash issue, and which is cash is king in small businesses. But they are forging ahead. We hope that they emerge from this a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser, and really on solid foundation. So good luck with those guys. The next 30 days are tough when it talks about going into bankruptcy protection. So Poynt going into bankruptcy protection. Why don't we talk about a pretty unique story here for our second story, which is a company called Grafetee. I'm probably not pronouncing that properly, but they're working. This is pretty cool. It was almost like it was maybe mid last week. I was talking to a guy here in Ottawa whose company is working with the Ottawa Police Department and the RCMP to do almost the exact same thing as this. And then you come up with this story. This is Grafetee working with the Finnish Police. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. The police. Yeah. Anyhow, yeah. So this is a cool little story. So Grafetee is a public safety app that the police are doing some beta testing with in Finland, and this is about users basically updating their status with images, text. Alerting police in real time to things that they're seeing around them. So, sort of, using the location-based tools, sending information in real time that the police can leverage to take action on. And so it's kind of a very cool sort of public citizen application. I like it.
Isn't that what 911 is for, or something like that, or actually like the phone, like police, please?
Yeah. But now couple that with location data, images, text, all that other stuff, right? Other than picking up the phone and dial, it doesn't replace. In Finland, apparently, it's 112 that you dial. So it's not a replacement for that. It's in addition to, and so the police are monitoring this thing all the time, and it plots any messages that are coming in through the system onto an interactive map that they can see and react to. So kind of cool.
Yeah, anytime companies or organizations leverage this stuff, I think that it's good. Usually what happens is it's a transition from a company that doesn't use social or anything along these lines, or mobile or location. They start with Twitter and they move into this, gradually into this. And it would behoove us for North American police departments, emergency response units, all these guys who are monitoring or should be monitoring the Twitter sphere and all these social networks and location for information about these things. Should look to our European counterparts to be able to see what these guys are doing, because as we talk about this all the time. They skipped the big screen, they skipped desktop internet, and they went right to mobile and location. And the lessons that we're learning over there are pretty amazing. And I think that the riots in Vancouver really shifted it for Canadians anyways, because a lot of people, there was closed circuit television that captured a lot of people who were vandalizing and terrorizing people. But a lot of it came from people's cell phones and, the Twitter sphere, and people monitoring Twitter and Facebook for people who admitted their guilt. And, it's just kind of crazy. And based on your location with your phone, this really does change the paradigm on this. And I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, I think it's neat. I think every, police service, any emergency response group should be looking at this kind of stuff. I think it just makes sense to add a layer on top of what you already have in terms of information gathering.
Totally agree. So that's it. It's Grafetee?
I think it's Grafetee.
Yeah. So they're working with the Finnish Police. Very cool.
Yeah, and it's Android and iOS.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can actually use it on your browser as well. You can just drag it, as you see there on the screen.
Right.
It's got this little drag up in the top corner, which is covered by our little great logo. But you can drag it to your bookmark and bookmark things right on the web. That's very cool. I love this little innovative piece of technology where there's no revenue requirements for the police guys, the police force. It's just about doing social good. Our third story, it's a head scratcher. Google I/O was obviously about 10 days ago. They announced a whole bunch of announcements. One of those things was this thing called Save to Wallet function, which I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so this is an attempt by Google to sort of, bridge the worlds of online shopping or online, sort of browsing of products that you'd like to buy. With the real world of physical retail where you can actually buy those products. And so the idea is you're surfing the web, an online store or, on a site where you looking at a product catalog, you see something, and you can save that to your Google Wallet. And then basically when you're in the store, you can, redeem that thing, or, if there's an offer on it, or those kinds of things connected to that. So it's that, sort of bridge between, and we know that when people are shopping, depending on the item, but electronics in particular, those kinds of things, we tend to do a lot of the research online before we go to the store. So in that sense, I see some value in this kind of thinking. That sort of bridge between the online world and the physical retail world.
Yeah. I definitely see the bridge there. I see that this is something that it's like Save to Foursquare, which is another feature that is part of Foursquare but not really integrated. I think it's a very key piece.
It's an underutilized and undermarketed part of Foursquare, I would say.
100%, and there's many opportunities for that where you see, listen, it's about reminding you through radar when you arrive in a city of a restaurant maybe that you wanted to go to that you've saved to Foursquare from a magazine or a newspaper or review or something to that extent. This is one of those things that I understand. 90% of retail is still done. 95% of retail is still done in the stores. Purchases are done in the stores. But that trend is changing, and I've gone through that research process. I don't need to be reminded oftentimes when I'm in Best Buy what I need to get. Certainly, this is one of those things. I think it's necessary, a part of wallets, but it's not worth an announcement, and it's certainly not a big feature that is, there's a killer feature for the wallet function.
No, not at all.
No.
So this is, and from the merchant perspective, the online merchant's perspective. So this is a little piece of JavaScript that they've released that you embed into your website, and it creates the Save the Wallet button effectively. So pretty simple stuff. We'll see whether anybody actually uses it. But anyhow.
I think you throw as much as you can into this, and then what ends up sticking is what ends up sticking.
Sure.
Yeah. Who knows? I could be wrong. Anybody out there using it, reach out, untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. Please let us know. All right, fourth story. I was mixed about this one because it's Big Blue and it's groceries, and it's augmented reality and it's groceries, and so Big Blue, IBM launching an augmented reality app for groceries, and I thought, this is intriguing. Tomi Ahonen, our good friend Tomi Ahonen, the soothsayer, the mobile prophet in Europe, talks about augmented reality as the eighth mass media. He is so optimistic about the future of augmented reality, and here's a perfect example of something that is, IBM taking a stab at this with their grocery app.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of augmented reality. I think it's got a lot of potential, and I think a lot of brands, a lot of retailers are starting to play around with this stuff. So, I think it's a good move for IBM to kind of go into this space. Obviously this is at least oriented towards grocery. I think it could be expanded beyond just grocery. But I see what they're trying to do. So effectively what this is a augmented reality. It's a mobile app that, as you're walking around a grocery store and you're kind of going down those aisles and looking at the shelves, you can basically hold up your phone. It recognizes the products on those shelves and then provides you with tips, recommendations, coupons, all that kind of stuff based on, what it's seeing through the augmented reality browser. So kind of cool, actually. A slightly different implementation from a lot of the other augmented reality things that we've seen. But
one of the things that I really liked about this was that we talked about this with Doug Stevens. I actually talked about this for Retail Profit on at Untethered Talks, which was that perfect experience where you walk into a store and the apps download automatically to your phone, with approval, obviously. So you walk into a store, it's there's a perimeter set around it. You walk into that perimeter, it's basically geofenced, and it downloads an app automatically, and that's what they're talking about with this. And I think that this is a pretty cool piece of technology when you make it just in time. You've talked about that as well, Asif. But
no, I agree. I think it's so. The augmented reality piece of this, in terms of it's recognizing something and then providing a layer of visual data on top of that. That in itself isn't so unique anymore. But I applaud them for doing it. I mean, IBM's a big player in the retail world, so bringing this to their existing customer base makes sense to me. And we, I don't know if it was Doug or Amber, one of the other speakers talked about Stick To, which we've talked about on this show before as well, which effectively does the same thing. I mean, I can take any product, I can, basically put a virtual sticky note of information layered on top of that. That's okay. What I think is more interesting about the IBM app here is the combinations between the augmented reality piece and all the data that they're correlating around that. So they talk about, okay, you can see the ingredients and price and get coupons and all that kind of stuff. But then they integrate it with other stuff. So if a friend of yours has reviewed this product and that review is up on Facebook or somewhere else, they'll flag that information and pull that out to you. You can also tell the app, it says, that you want a cereal brand that's low in sugar, highly rated by consumers, and on sale right now. And it'll come back and show you where on the shelf that is.
Yeah.
So that information, I think, is different than just I hold up my augmented reality app and I see some stuff there. This app supposedly is actually telling me where to look on the shelf for the stuff I want.
Yeah, that's the cool part. But you know what? I still call me a non-traditionalist here. But we're taking a brand new technology or a new kind of technology which is augmented reality and throwing it on top of a layer that is broken, which is the retail industry as it stands today. The shelving, the whole process, right, is bound to change in a moment's notice. We're not going to get rid of supermarkets, but that whole process of shopping is going to change quite considerably. And do you really see people walking down the corridors with their phones held up like this? Is that I think that's the thing.
No, I don't.
Do you see them wearing in the Google glasses maybe at some point?
Yeah, I do see that, but here's the thing. I think big companies have to throw this stuff out there to get big brands to listen.
Yeah.
And the more that happens, I think the more likely it is that the consumers get to the point where Google glasses and things like that become possible on a mass scale.
Yeah. I like the innovation. I like the fact that they're putting their names behind it, and I'm glad that IBM is dabbling in this, and I think that it's augmented reality is just a technology that's still looking for that perfect place, and this is one of it. I've interviewed many companies on Untethered.tv that talk about that. Nutrition companies that focus on the label and deciphering the label and making sure that your grocery bin is filled with food that you can actually eat. And it does it in a way that doesn't require the consumer to actually hold it up and find a product that way. It's like even Worley at Chaotic Moon Labs is talking about this self-scanning checkout cart, and basically when you put it in the cart, it scans it based on your dietary needs and warns you if that is something that. Now that is useful, right? Because it's passive. It's something that the consumer can understand. I put this cereal in there, and it says, look, you've set a parameter that it can't be higher than 10 grams of sugar per serving. This is 13. It's high in sodium, which you can't have.
Edit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, but I like that IBM's playing in this. So we've probably beaten this to death. IBM, AR app for groceries. All right, let's kill the last story here. We got this is a story about Gecko Landmarks. Let's talk about this, Asif.
Yeah, this is a company I wasn't familiar with until I kind of started to dig into them.
They just raised a little bit of money mid-June, like $1 million.
Yeah, they raised a little bit of money. It's a location-based service company, and really what these guys are trying to talk about is the difference between POIs or points of interest and what they're defining as landmarks. And so they're trying to make this argument, and they've kind of come up with this whole thesis around different forms of location identifying data, I guess might be the best way to put it. And so when you think about a point of interest in the sense of how every mapping system works today is based on POIs. Like if you've got any of those GPS devices in your car, the Garmin or TomTom or any of that kind of stuff, you'll know that you can always punch in this point of interest thing and it'll pull up a bunch of stuff. Well, these guys are saying, well, that's not the most accurate way necessarily to be identifying locations. Landmarks is a different way to do it. So they're saying it's much easier for people to understand. We know where the CN Tower is in Toronto, or we know where the Eiffel Tower is, or we know where Central Park is, or we know where these things are, and let's start to build reference points based on that, and then tie a bunch of spatial data, to that. It's an interesting concept. It takes a lot of thinking for me, anyways. As a Luddite, to figure out where they're going. But once I started dug into it, I got it. Yeah.
And what is it today? We've got Grafetee, which is a Finnish company. Gecko is a Finnish company. Is this a hint of some sort? They're both Finnish companies.
I'm just saying these Scandinavian companies are doing some good things over there.
Well, they are, and I like that because again, they challenge the status quo, the current thinking.
Well, let's put it this way. All these guys who left Nokia have to do something now. So
yikes! And there are lots of people who left Nokia, and there's also going to be lots of people who leave RIM at some point.
So maybe there's hope for RIM.
Yeah.
Ex-RIM people.
Of course,
right?
There is. Especially with the packages.
The next wave of geckos will come from RIM.
You think so, eh?
Yeah.
That's Gecko Landmarks. If you want to take a look at them, go to geckolandmarks.com, GECKO landmarks.com. Gecko Landmarks.
Yeah, please do it. If you're into the pure geo intelligence and mapping space, this is an interesting premise or thesis that they put out here.
Yeah, and
they talk about at the end of this document I was reading, they talk about the difference between point, waypoint, checkpoint, track point, places of interest, and place. Like they've got all these definitions for these things, which are really interesting. So
maybe it becomes a standard, which would be great.
Who knows?
And they have an open API that you can pull in their landmark API, landmark data as well. So, sure. Geckolandmarks.com. We should get them on as a guest. I'd love to hear about those guys. Those are the five. Poynt, Grafetee, Google Ads, Save to Wallet function. IBM launches their augmented reality app for groceries, and Gecko's Landmarks. What do you think? Did we hit those? If we didn't, well, you should have reached out and told us about some kind of news. Reach out at untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com, or just add us on Twitter. Follow us, whatever you want to do. Follow us up anywhere, and just reach out. Drop us a few notes if you want your news item to be in the top 5 items of the week. Well, now it is time for our special guest. Now, this is a super, super special guest, isn't it, Asif?
Sure.
Well, because David Perez, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Adcentricity, is who this interview is with. We're just going to go into a little bit of detail about what Adcentricity is, and his thoughts on a little bit forward-thinking thoughts on where the market is going. But they also came on as a sponsor.
They did, and we're very happy about that.
God, love them. Yes,
we love sponsors.
Well, we love sponsors. We love the ability to actually generate a little bit of revenue, which would be very helpful, especially if we want to keep this show on the air. The bandwidth costs, the talent costs. It's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
I certainly, my rider is so long that it just, what, we need like 40
Somebody's
sponsors.
Somebody's got to pay for all those green M&Ms.
Yes, exactly. Somebody's got to pay for the Springsteen to be piping in through. Wait a second, my family pays for that already. Yeah, they pay over and over again. Well, I sat down with David Perez.
He's in Toronto in August, Rob.
He is August 24th.
There you go.
Got my ticket. I was just reading my favorite book of all time. Book called For You. It's about the Darkness on the Edge of Town tour. I could do a reading if you'd want of this book. It was actually done by a fan.
Save that for episode 86.
Yes, I will. I sat down with David Perez, who is the Chief Marketing Officer, as I said, for Adcentricity, to talk about his company, the company, and where they think this industry is going and why they should be in the middle of it. We want you to support them. Please go to adcentricity.com. But here is David. We'll catch you on the flip side of this interview. We are here with David Perez, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Adcentricity in Toronto. David, welcome. Thank you for coming on and being our guest.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, let's begin at the very start. What is Adcentricity? First of all, Canadian, love the fact. Toronto-based, love it. We have a great, thriving mobile and location industry, which is wonderful. But what is Adcentricity?
Adcentricity, Rob, is a location-based digital media company that offers marketing solutions that drive shopper engagement based on a person's physical location. We have two main platforms to meet the advertising industry's needs. One is AdCentral and one is AdMobile. AdCentral is a multi-channel, location-based digital media management platform that really makes it easier to plan, create, deliver, and measure any type of targeted media or personalized mobile content. AdMobile is a customizable, location-based mobile shopping platform providing mobile interfaces, shopping tools, location services, content management, analytics, and reporting. To go in a little bit more depth in terms of what our platform does, AdCentral really is the hub of planning activity for media buyers and planners. Within AdCentral, we have three main services: AdVenue, AdTarget, and AdFormat. AdVenue is really the workhorse that manages all the inventory of networks and screens across North America, of which there are thousands of screens and hundreds of networks. So what AdVenue does in real time is matches brands' objective strategy, targeting objectives, and it'll spit out a media plan in a matter of seconds that really helps planners really navigate and plan campaigns in this very complex space. What AdTarget does is take lifestyle information from Nielsen and Veronix and others, and really allows us to target pretty precisely by location consumers based on a brand's objectives and strategies. And then what AdFormat does is AdFormat renders the creative. It's a creative solution that actually helps localize messaging. So in other words, an advertiser, say it's a large retailer, can change the messaging at different locations across the country. So if it's a big box retailer, and they want to promote drills in one store and snowblowers in another, they can actually change the content and the messaging still with the national campaign theme.
Let me ask you, David, why is this so important?
Retailers are facing very complicated challenges now with the bricks and mortar being cannibalized by online shopping and showrooming. So, having consumers come into the store gives that opportunity to really upsell and cross-sell. And yes, it's all about basket size and, increasing the average transaction as a consumer moves around the store. It's creating the, because 70% of purchase decisions are really made at retail level, there is really an opportunity to influence, a bigger basket size. We find that using an ArcGate study that was provided to us actually through the LBMA, we were this location-based digital media has been proven effective in driving brand recall by 47%. It increases basket size by 29.5%. So all in all, our challenge really is to keep promoting that and getting that message out to brands and advertisers.
Have we seen a shift now? It's about, it really is about, not so much about attracting new customers, but holding on to existing and getting them into the stores more often. Is that where we're seeing it shift to?
Yes, any opportunity to deepen the brand engagement with your core consumers is a key strategy these days of most retailers. So yeah, driving consumers in, having them come in frequently, maybe possibly even increasing their number of visits in a day. For example, Starbucks does a great job at once you come in for your morning coffee, they're trying to get you to come back in the afternoon for a nice latte, for example. So driving that through location-based and offers and deals, proximity aware, can really have an impact on that.
Are you finding that that companies or retailers are starting to embrace this, or are they still on the fence about? Statistics are great. We've all seen these great stats around the impact of something like this. But are retailers, are companies starting to embrace this now? Is it still a hard sell, or is it getting easier for you?
It's still a bit of a challenge to really get people to siphon off a portion of the traditional media spend and put it into this space. Finding that still is a major challenge, and it's the proof of concept, the case studies. Once we can get more metrics in front of everyone, I think it's going to become a lot easier.
But right now, I can imagine, the challenge that a lot of these guys have is that they've they've put a lot of money into all these other challenges or channels that have worked for them in the past, and it's drawn attention to their shop or to their store or to their business, and you're fighting for dollars that are already being spent elsewhere. So it's kind of a. Do you see a point in time when the dollars being spent in this space are directed dollars that you're not gonna have to fight from taking it from advertising or display?
I think so. Once again, as soon as we can start proving out some metrics and showing some great ROI case studies, then I think we're going to have a real. You'll start to see it shift. Certainly, the indications in terms of all the predictions, in terms of where the growth is going to come in this space over the next few years is pretty astronomical. Like, we're predicting $4.5 billion being spent on location-based digital media by 2014. So I think it's going to happen, Rob. It's a little bit slow in development, but there certainly are some retailers and manufacturers that are certainly testing their way into this and achieving great results.
Because this is very personalized, it's almost like mass one-on-one marketing, right? Is that a hurdle for them to get over? Just simply because it's not about hitting 1,000 people, having 100 people come into the store and having 10 people buy. It's like hitting the 10 that are interested in buying right away. Is that a shift in the way that they think? And is that a stumbling block?
Intuitively, it makes a lot of sense, and that's certainly where everything is headed. Consumers seem to be wanting the more personalized, content delivery and advertising delivery, and certainly that PwC study reinforces that. But it's just a matter again of getting some of the case studies, the proof, and convincing media buyers and planners to really step out of their comfort zone a little bit and move away from some of the traditional media, the television, the print, the online. But everything really must work in conjunction, and you can't really attribute brand sales and lift in brand offtake to any one thing. Everything has to work in conjunction along the path to purchase.
Really appreciate you coming on board. Where can people find out more information about you guys?
We are online at www.adcentricity.com, located in Toronto. And we also have offices in New York and London.
We've been speaking with David Perez, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Adcentricity. Go to adcentricity.com for more information. Thank you, David. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, we thank David for obviously being a part of the show. We thank David and Adcentricity for sponsoring This Week in Location-Based Marketing. And I implore you, look, do us a favor. Do us a favor by doing them a favor. Go to adcentricity.com and let them know in one way, shape, or form that you heard about them through us. In fact, what would be the greatest thing ever? Wouldn't this be great? Is if you just went out and tweeted, "Hey, I heard about Adcentricity on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Thanks for sponsoring the show." If you guys could do that, man, that would be the greatest thing. If one of you did,
we'd be happy.
Yeah. If one of you did, it would be like a mistake. If two of you did, it would be basically momentum. If three of you did, it would be a revolution. And we'd love it if you could do that. So let's see if we can get that done at Adcentricity. Adcentricity.com. Thank you, David. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. All right, let's get through our funding, because there is a lot of stuff in this, and we're like 9 hours into the show so far. So funding and a couple of acquisitions and a little bit of funding, and a couple of acquisitions. The first one obviously is Amazon. I don't know if this is confirmed yet or not, but Amazon has rumored highly accurate rumors, I think, that Amazon has bought a mapping company, UpNext, which is Danny Moon's company, which we did an episode of on Tether.tv a long time ago. I think it was July of 2010. That's how far in advance we're getting these companies. You don't even know that you need to know these companies back then.
There you go.
And I had the greatest story. Can I tell you the story about Danny and UpNext?
Let's do it.
I got an email from a company. From one of their investors, who shall remain nameless, who said, "Hey Rob, I just wanted to let you in on one thing. I invested in UpNext, Danny Moon's company, because of the interview that you did with him on Untethered.tv. He was looking at it. He wanted to get a sense of the profile of the entrepreneur. He wanted to see how he reacted under pressure. And he said the long form interview was a perfect way for him to see the true personality, because you can't hide in that kind of interview. And so he put money into UpNext, and then hopefully this has been good to him on a return. I've heard return of up to 10 or 12 times the investment. So
sweet. So Danny, when you're done with that, sponsor this podcast. We're ready to go.
And you know what? We'll accept like just Danny Moon sponsorship, sponsored by Danny Moon.
Absolutely, we'll take it.
So the big story here is what this really means for Amazon. The rumor that they're obviously want to get this into the Kindle Fire, but they're also moving into the smartphone market as well. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's viable? You think that's possible?
I think it is possible. So, so this is an interesting company, as you said. Danny Moon is a 3D mapping company. The initial talk here is that, the Kindle Fire, which they've had great success with so far, doesn't have any native location services built into it, like the Apple and the Android devices do. And so up until now, they've the only location-based stuff that they've been able to do is some partnerships with Skyhook around Wi-Fi, triangulation and things like that. So, buying a company like this, and rolling that into the Kindle Fire, I think makes sense, if in fact that's where they're going. And they've got some capital coming into the company again. There's, rumors, as you say, about them launching their own phone. I don't know.
eBay?
This could be good. Somebody
Amazon.
I know said at the beginning of the year, when I said eBay was going to be the big guys, said Amazon was going to be the company to watch. I think his name was Rob Woodbridge. I don't, yeah. Anyways.
Yes, I'm completely optimistic about this. I don't know if these guys can play in the handheld device market, but why not? They understand retail, and I think that's the big thing here is that Amazon gets retail. And UpNext is a very unique, very much like Apple's new mapping software, away from Google. And I think that it's interesting that these guys are waking up to say, listen, why are we building Google's business for them? Why are we building their database for them? It's hampering them in the long term, because everybody, like every iOS user who added a location through Google, it was actually added to Google's database, not Apple's. Same thing with Amazon. And look what they did. They turned around and started charging them to access that information that they contributed, that their users contributed. So this makes a lot of sense. Go Amazon. Go Amazon. Go Danny Moon. I'm so happy.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So that's great. I'm ecstatic for Danny. I'm ecstatic for his team. I love this product. And 2 years ago, I interviewed him on Tether.tv. Sweet. Wow. All right, second story. Nokia. This is just a head scratcher. Nokia is. They announced earlier on this year that they were going to unload all of their mobile payment offerings, and here they did. They got rid of their mobile payment unit in India, of all places. They sold it, and this is just so that they could focus on what their telecom practice and their handset manufacturing. Oh.
Well, I mean, the problem is all the guys that used to run this thing are now building Gecko and other things. So, yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, this is interesting. So, obviously, this is the Indian market. So, there's a company called Fino that has acquired this. So, this is which is a sort of Indian mobile banking company. And so they've acquired this payment platform from Nokia. I didn't see any terms or any numbers around this deal. I don't know if you did, Rob.
No.
But I think the bigger issue is I think you hit the nail on the head. Is what's going on here? I mean, this is when everybody else is ramping up to mobile payments. Everybody's launching a mobile wallet. Everybody's moving into this space. What's Nokia saying here? We can't be either they're saying, we're interested in this space, but the Indian market's not for us, so we'll get out of that, or we're not in this space, and we're going to let others do it. So it just doesn't make this from that perspective doesn't make sense to me.
Well, so here you've got a manufacturer of devices that that pretty much is dominant in all developing nations, Africa and India, right? So Nokia, they make handsets that are affordable. They are not, maybe they're not all feature phones, but they are smart, or they are, maybe they're not, they're all feature phones, they're not smartphones. But you're also talking about a population of 1.2 billion people where there isn't it's growing. But there isn't as much of a banking infrastructure as there is in North America, just like Africa, the same thing, that there is a massive population of unbanked. And to get out of this business, which is, I think, the biggest growth opportunity this planet has ever seen in banking, is to actually enable banking for the people who have never had a bank account before or have never been able to transact digitally like this. And for them to get out of this, it's like all I hear is Tomi Ahonen's voice in my head saying, Stephen Elop is the worst mistake that this company has ever seen. And decisions like this just blow my mind. Maybe there's some logic behind it, but I'm like you. Yeah. They got the handsets in their hand that are Nokia, that have Nokia on them, and to take small transactions from all those handsets around the unbanked it seems to me like it's a no-brainer. Everybody's trying to get in that business, and Nokia said, no, we want to go back to manufacturing handsets. I don't know what happened, but
I don't get it. But I think the good news is for the Indian market itself is the company that picked this up. These Fino guys.
They get it.
This is not a small company, and it's not a new player. I mean, they're a known entity in the Indian market. 50 million customers, 50,000 villages that they operate in. Apparently, Intel and Blackstone capital behind them. So this is a well-funded, well-organized group that's picked this up and said, we're a good player in this space. We want to be a better player in this space. So let's grab Nokia's share, and if they want to divest and move out and focus on their core business of making phones, okay.
Yes, I'd love to see the numbers on that deal, but good. I mean, great for Fino, but Nokia, oh my god, yeah. And I don't even really care. I mean, I'm not a hardware guy. I don't care one iota about Nokia, maybe about the employees and nobody losing their jobs. I don't really care, but I look at this as an opportunity wasted on those guys. In the ground level, they started this organization in 2010, not Nokia, but their banking division in India. And maybe there's something that we don't see. And if anybody has any insight, tell me if you're listening. Let us know what you think about this. I tried to find out if there was an opinion from Tomi, but Tomi just shakes his head now at anything that Steve Elop does. And he's a Canadian. And give him the benefit of the doubt. He ran Macromedia for a little while. So Nokia sells their mobile payment unit in India to a company called Fino. And then on the exact opposite flip side of this, we got this other company, which is, I think it's called Kuapay, raises a small round in order to be able to what are they going to do? Get into this space or enhance like another mobile wallet company?
Yeah, so this is a California company out of Santa Monica. So they raised $4 million from a private investor. They're expanding into New York, Europe, and Asia is what the press release says. This is about opening new offices, expanding globally. I mean, there's a lot of players in this space. There's a lot of guys getting into this space, as I just said. Obviously, Nokia is not. They're getting out. But yeah, so this is it's sort of like a, from what I understand, it's sort of like a what's the company I'm trying to think of now? Not Scavenger, but the other part of that company. Name escapes me now. The sister company, Rob, help me out here.
Yes, you've got me stumped too. It's a level up.
Level up. Yeah, I think it's sort of like a level up. So a QR code or code-based payment system.
Here, I've got a video. Let me run this video. It'll kind of put it in perspective here. It's just the Kuapay mobile payments video. I'll just give it a run, and we'll see how this comes out. Yeah, I think it. I mean, this is just a payment enabling company ultimately, and I always wonder about these guys because I think the founder of this is a guy by the name of This is my turn to blow it. This was founded by a guy who actually had a $100 million exit.
Yeah, Joaquin Aiso de Paul.
Yes, of course, it wasn't on the tip of my tongue, but he did. He had a $100 million exit, and I don't know. Like I want to have these guys on because I love these upstarts that are kind of getting into the space. But they've raised, I think, a total of $6.5 million, including this $4 million round, and they're going up against some of the biggest companies with the biggest install base, like the rumor. I mean, certainly not even the rumor, but what Apple's doing with their Apple wallets. And Google Wallet. This is a hard battle, and I don't know what they expect to do with just $6.5 million in funding. I think to be able to reach this, they're now in 40 retail outlets, and they're being tested across the nation. A couple of more, and I think they're going to get a KFC chain, or but like. The world is big, and $6.5 million doesn't cut it. Like they need hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars.
It's one of those things, though. I tried to make that comparison to level up. It's one of those things where, if you go and you take that approach, like a lot of the daily deal guys did, of owning a local market, and owning a region, and then sort of buying up other regions, with some of that capital, like some of the struggling guys. Yep. You can make a play to be acquired. Like you can build a company to a certain point where you get taken out by one of the bigger guys, because you own geography.
But that's not. You're not building a business at this point, right?
No, but I mean these guys. I mean they got an office in Santiago, Chile.
Yeah.
So go and own the Chilean payments market, lock that thing up. Move into Argentina. Move into some of these other markets. Own South America, and then have Google come knock on the door and say, okay, we need that.
Yeah.
I get it. I get that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good business, but why KFC? It just seems like all these fast food chains are desperate.
Well, KFC is huge in Latin America, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, Kuapay, go to Kuapay.com if you're interested. They raised $4 million. Worthwhile? Who knows? But I'm going to do my best, even if I maybe insulted them. I'm going to see if they want to come on and scream at me and call me names, and show how much of an idiot I am around what they're doing. That's a challenge.
There you go.
Gauntlet is dropped. All right, those are the three stories. Amazon supposedly acquiring UpNext, which great for Danny Moon. Love that company. Love those guys. Love Amazon. Nokia sells their mobile payment play in India, and Kuapay raises $4 million to take on the world in mobile wallets. Good on them. If we missed anything, it's your fault. Okay? If we missed anything in there, it's your fault because you didn't reach out and tell us. If your company's out there, if you raise money, if you've been bought, if you bought a company, and you didn't reach out and tell us, and it isn't in that story, in those top 3 stories, it is 100% your fault. Reach out, untitled@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com, and we will put it in there. Come on. Let's hear from you. Last piece between, you guys and the end of this podcast, if you were still there, is our resource of the week. And this is so great. Talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy with retailers and discounts. Right?
Yeah, no, I found this thing, and I'm like, I got to share this with everybody because I talk all the time about, why you shouldn't, we have a lot of retail members at the LBMA, and I talk to them about why you shouldn't be discounting all the time. And this whole Groupon phenomenon in the mind of the consumer where I never will pay full price for anything ever again, it's not sustainable. And this is why we've seen a lot of the trouble with this. And so this article agrees with that and comes back and says, well, wait a second, we got to stop this deep discounting. We got to stop all this couponing. And we got to get back to, just reality and make money again. And so a lot of the big retailers, and so they got Guess highlighted in here. They got JCPenney in here. They got, Macy's, and Kohl's and all these guys in here and talking about how, they've basically dumped all that stuff and gone back to retail 101, selling stuff, at full price.
Just like,
I'm going to read here. it literally, this is a paragraph from the article, says it's a very real concept, one that JCPenney had hoped to capitalize on. The department store used a cold turkey approach in February. In an effort to turn its business around, JCPenney abruptly stopped its frequent sales and coupons in favor of an everyday low pricing option. So they've gone back to sensible discounting, proper discounting, and forgetting about all this like crazy sales and coupons all over the place. That kind of Groupon put out there.
We've been talking about this, I think, for the whole time we've been doing this podcast, is that, you don't discount for people who are standing in line with a product in their hand, ready to buy that product. You don't give them a 25% discount just for showing up. There's a perimeter that they did this huge study around how far people would go for discounts, and it ranged from 5% all the way up to 40%. They said that they would drive 90 minutes for a 40% discount. From one spot, they would drive 90 minutes to your store to get a 40% discount, and here you are giving it to them for what? Walking past your store?
And Gywire's got some great data on that too, like in proximity to store and distance, you travel around discounting and stuff like that. So anyways,
I'm all for this.
It was a great article to kind of bring some reality to, to this whole discounting thing that we talk about all the time.
Let me ask you, Asif, it's too late. That's the problem right now, is that they use discounts as crack, right? Basically, it was the way that they can do it. If you look at big retail chains like the Gap, Banana Republic, and Old Navy, they're one and the same, but they are now a discount-driven store. That's how they do their business. You know that on Tuesdays you're going to get an email from those guys saying it's going to be 40% off of this, and that's when you should do all of your shopping. They have done this to themselves. They've screwed themselves, and now that they want to pull out, why? Because they are killing themselves. The MSRP doesn't mean anything anymore, and these guys, retail, is dying, and who did it? The retailers. They're a bunch of morons.
They did. However, the other thing that this article talks about, which I'm a huge fan of, is creating actual experiences for people, reasons for them to come to your store. And actually experience
beyond
the product,
discount.
Experience the store, and like the Apple model, right? Like the Apple store. You walk in there, they don't discount anything. They'll charge you 10 times more, in fact, right? But it's about experience. And another interesting article I read this week, while we're on this topic, is we've heard all about the problems of Best Buy. And the showrooming and this, that, and they're struggling and they're closing stores and whatever. I read another article this week about they're opening up some new stores, a new concept store, slightly smaller scale Best Buy. But what they've done is in the middle of the store, they've got, we can help you, set up your product, customer service oriented, the Apple model. You bought the thing, okay, we'll configure it for you, we'll get it all set up, And the nice thing is it's Best Buy doing it, not like Best Buy outsourcing it to Geek Squad and just handing that revenue out the door. We're doing it for you now. Copying the Apple model. They should have been doing it 10 years ago. Yep. I don't know, why they outsourced it, but anyhow. So it's possible to actually do this stuff and do it well and actually make money
without giving the product away, without giving your profit away, which is the big key. When you discount something, it doesn't just disappear. Like that discount doesn't just appear. It takes it away somebody's got to pay for that, right? And it's usually you, the retailer. Man. Yeah, well, I'm glad that there's a little bit of sense being talked about this, and go forward strategy for retailers whose stocks are all in decline simply says that you cannot give away so much product and still sustain a manageable business, a profitable business. And retail is very profitable, don't get me wrong. However, this is not something that is going to change my buying habits. I am now a brand agnostic guy who will go out and find the best price for the value that I'm willing to spend and the product that I want. And that has been done by the retailers. It is their fault for abusing this for 2 years. I mean, sorry, retailers, you're putting yourself out of business.
There you go.
All right. Well, if you like this show, don't put it out of business. Go and support our sponsor, Adcentricity. Please go to their website, adcentricity.com. These guys need your support. We need your support. Support us by supporting them. Please go to their site. The other thing you can do is that if you love the show and you want it in and on your handset, on your smartphone, on your MP3 player, whatever it is that you're doing, go and subscribe to it through iTunes. If you love it, please rate it. Give us a 5-star. Leave a comment about the podcast. Just search for Location-Based Marketing. We are there. We're the only podcast covering this industry in iTunes. Go to iTunes, subscribe to it, give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment. It would mean the world to us. It's even better than a sponsorship, although we'll take the money as well. But really, really, really appreciate it if you could do that for us. We'd love to get a little bit of buoyancy for this podcast through iTunes, and create a little bit more awareness for this. Let people know about what we're doing. So if you could do that, do those two things, support Adcentricity and support us in iTunes. We would love you forever. Right, Asif?
You got it. Absolutely.
Yes. All right, that's it. That's all our begging that we can do. This has been in episode number 85. We will, from somewhere in North Carolina, Asif will be here for episode number 86. South Carolina. Oh, yeah. South Carolina, yeah. Episode number 86, which we will bring to you sometime next week. If you have a story, a lead, an interest, a comment, reach out, untether@gmail.com or asif@thelbma. Don't be shy. And if you agree or disagree vehemently with something that we've said, again, don't be shy. I've been called out many times, and it is the best conversation that you could possibly have. So bring it. Right? I see.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm right with you.
All right, this has been it. Episode number 85 in the books. We'll see you next week for episode number 86. Asif, enjoy the beginning of your vacation. We'll catch you in a week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, see you, everybody.
All right.